Presentation of dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
It's because the language belongs to everybody, and it turns out that everybody has strong feelings about it.
Coming up, a conversation with New Yorker editor Mary Norris about her new book and about life as a comma queen. That's dialogue next. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Marcia Franklin. For more than 30 years, my guest today has worked behind the scenes of one of the world's most respected magazines, The New Yorker. Mary Norris is what's known at The New Yorker as a page okayer, one of the people in the editing chain at the magazine who helped preserve its high standards. In 2015, she decided to leave her anonymity behind by publishing a book called Between You and Me, Confessions of a Comma Queen. Part grammar tips, part memoir, reviewers have praised the book as laugh-out-loud funny, tender, and wise. I sat down with Queen Norris at the 2015 Sun Valley Writers Conference to learn more. Well, welcome to Idaho, Your Majesty.
Oh, why thank you.
I understand this is your first visit to our area.
I was through a corner of Idaho once, but I've never stayed here.
Well, let's first tell the viewers about your lovely crown. You are, of course, a comma queen. Every comma queen has to have a
comma crown.
Yes. Explain this to us.
Well, I should say that I'm not really royalty, but I have a friend who is a milliner. He's a sculptor, and he makes a hat for his wife every year for the Easter parade. And when he found out that I had a book and the subtitle was Confessions of a Comma Queen, he said, "Oh, we have to make you a crown." So he made this. It's aluminum, and as you can see, it has commas dangling from it. And these are historically accurate commas from various printers from the Renaissance on. There's a Bembo and Caslon and
so different type fonts.
Different fonts. Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, lest it be too distracting, perhaps we should put it in a place of prominence here. But that's just amazing. How wonderful!
It's beautiful, isn't it?
And on the table here, we have a comma shaker, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
We've got to leave some mystery for the viewers here. I had to smile when I saw the title of your book, Between You and Me, because not too long ago I interviewed Dave Barry right here at the Sun Valley Writers Conference, and he has a song, and I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Proofreading Woman.
Oh,
Have you heard that song?
No.
The refrain includes the words, "I'm in love with a proofreading woman, gonna love her till the day I die. She's got a big dictionary, real good grammar. She never says between you and I."
Oh, I love it.
That should be your anthem.
I will have to make it my theme song. Yes.
Well, one reason I had him sing it for me is because I love grammar, and that phrase, between you and I, it hurts my ears when I hear it, and I know you and I are similar because you say when you hear it, some lining between my skin and my inner organs begins to shrink. Why do some people, like the two of us, have issues when we hear improper grammar, and for other people it's nothing?
Well, I guess it has to do with your upbringing and who you learned things from originally, and how I know when I learned something when I was a kid, it made me feel automatically superior. I might have learned about it from making a mistake myself, and then when once I was corrected and I heard other people making that same mistake, of course I was very intolerant of it. Illinois, I used to pronounce the S on Illinois, and my older brother corrected me, and after that, if some kid in school said Illinois, I'd go, ah!
But for a lot of people, it just really doesn't matter to them. Why does it matter to you, for instance, that people would use proper grammar?
Well, maybe it's from reading. I mean, I'm not I am sensitive to it in speech, I admit, but I don't correct people. And I do make mistakes of my own, I'm sure. I always will. And I hope people are gentle when they correct me. I think it's just some sensibility, something that you have and you cultivate through reading, I think. You learn proper usage. And hearing things, I mean, you know, it's all in the circumstances. Obviously, when I'm in Queens, when I'm out at the beach, I don't mind hearing people speak the way people in Queens speak, you know. Him and me are going to Idaho. That doesn't bother me in the context of where it's spoken. But if it's an educated person trying to appear educated and they make the overcorrect mistake of saying, you know, like our President Obama sometimes says, thank you for your nice treatment of Michelle and I, and that's when I think, oh, you could loosen up and say me. It would be only correct.
My sense is sometimes with grammar in general that people are trying too hard sometimes, or they're making it more complicated than perhaps it needs to be, and that's why these mistakes occur. And between you and me is a very, very common one, but it's also easily correctable, yes?
Yes, if you just switch it around. You would never say between I and you, or you would never say he gave it to I and Michelle. So as soon as it comes naturally to us to use the me in that case, but people are being over polite too when they are talking about a couple and they're being deferent towards somebody, and so they use the same formulation in the objective case that they are supposed to use in the nominative.
For me, it's also a certain type of elegance. I suppose maybe the way people who like mathematics like the way that theorems come together. I know where my love for language and grammar started, and that was in the 5th grade with a teacher named Mrs. Fonville, who had us diagram sentences. She was a very proper person, and she loved grammar and wanted to share that love with us. And I really enjoyed diagramming sentences. I actually had her for 2 years for English. Where did your love of the syntax of the English language come from?
Well, we didn't spend much time diagramming sentences when I was in school. I remember maybe a week, and I kind of figured, okay, got it, let's move on. I really got interested in it once I started studying foreign languages.
Me too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had a French teacher, and I learned so much about grammar, including English grammar, from taking French.
Well, it just happens that you don't really need to know the names of things for the language you speak, since your mother started teaching you. But I really got it when I studied German. It was my senior year in college. I'd studied French, and I did figure out a little bit about grammar from French. But when I studied German, it was just maybe the exact right time to do it. I had just studied linguistics and understanding about case, and seeing how much more difficult German was made it seem really easy in English. And I'd used the words correctly before then, I think just from reading and I had nuns. I did go to Catholic school, and they did drive some things home. But it was studying German that made me, understand all what it meant, what the word case meant. I wish I had had Latin as a kid, but I did not. And I'd never, in fact, studied Latin.
Why did you want to write this book? What did you feel was the need out there?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty and insecurity in people who went to college even, they begin to doubt that they're speaking correctly or writing correctly as they grow older. And the idea was to reassure people, I think, and to have some place friendly to go to where they could, be entertained at the same time as they were sort of maybe even subliminally learning these terms and the correct usage.
So entertained, meaning because you kind of there's some memoir in this as well.
Yes.
It's not just grammar tips. That might be rather dull. So what I like about it is you include information about, for instance, Noah Webster and Benjamin Franklin, and how these two gentlemen actually wanted to try and change parts of the English language, spelling, for instance, and Webster had a little bit of success with it, taking, you know, the spelling of theater from R-E to ER, and taking the K off words like music and magic. But in general, it's pretty much stayed the same. I mean, those gentlemen didn't have too much success in moving the peg.
It's true. Webster he was much more ambitious. He started out as a reformer. He wanted to eliminate the silent E. There's a book by him, something about fugitive essays, and he has spelled fugitive without the E on the end, so that still exists. And he wanted to change the spelling of, say, the word cloak from C-L-O-A-K to C-L-O-K-E. And what happened with him, though, was he realized it wasn't working, and he bent to the popular usage, which you have to. I mean, you know, you can make all the arguments for grammar in the world, but if people want to, it's what people say that actually ends up.
Maybe between you and I will become popular.
This is my battle. That's the one thing I really do feel kind of evangelistic about. I try not to correct people when they use it wrongly, but it's part of the title. Part of the reason for the title is that I thought even if people only look at the title and don't read the book, they'll get that point.
Going back to Webster for just a moment, at the New Yorker where you work, you only use, is it Merriam-Webster dictionary?
Yes, we're partial to Merriam-Webster. We use the most recent collegiate edition, which right now is the 11th. We all have subscriptions to their online unabridged. We hark back all the way to the 1930s to look at the second, Webster's second unabridged, because there was a big flap over Webster's third when it came out in the 60s, because it included, well, in fact, Web 2 had included ain't, but it was the promotion for Webster's third that made it seem like ain't was okay, and that quoted people like Marilyn Monroe, you know, that sort of usage. And the prescriptive grammarians didn't think that it gave enough information to keep you from seeming vulgar.
Well, why Merriam-Webster over other dictionaries?
Well, I don't know what the history of that is. It does seem, though, that certainly Webster's second unabridged was the great American dictionary, one of the great dictionaries in the English language. And it started with that, and there's a loyalty to that. The New Yorker has copies of Webster's third, but when we're looking up a word in the line of duty, we look first at the collegiate, then at Webster's second, and then at Webster's third. And we say it has more scientific
These are
words
your
in it.
kind of word Bibles, I guess we can
I
say.
think it feels almost patriotic, I guess. It's not. There's not patriotism behind it, but there is. It's got a literary pedigree.
Well, moving more into describing what you do, you are a page okayer, is that correct?
Yes, I think it is a job description that exists only at the New Yorker, or certainly we're the only ones who call it that. They may call them production editors elsewhere, but what the page okayer is a copy editor and a line editor and a proofreader all rolled into one. And we're the ones who manage a piece through to the printer when it's going into the magazine, who read it in page proof and sit down before it goes to press with the editor, the author, the fact checker, and we have another proofreader reading it behind us for a safety net, and we all go over it together and make final adjustments, refine it. And what the okayer does is enter those changes and make sure no mistakes happen in the process of correcting things. So.
Sounds like it could be a rather tedious job to some people, but you love it. You've been there, what?
30-some years.
30-some years.
Yes.
What do you love about your job?
Well, I suppose the thing I love most is getting to read wonderful writers, getting paid to read, that's nice. And a really great writer whose piece you can read over and over without getting bored, that's it's a treat. It's something that is wonderful to get paid to do.
You get to see those articles first before anybody else does.
Yes, when you're on the copy desk, the first stage at the New Yorker is when something is read in manuscript and styled. We put the New Yorker spellings on it. We still spell theater the old British way or is it even the French way? R-E. And we use the diaeresis, the 2 dots over the second O and cooperate, kind of fussy things. But I always say that it has employed several copy editors putting those diareses on. And so that makes it worth it.
And you work not only with characters, i.e. Words, or letters, but also characters in terms of people. Lots of characters have come through the New Yorker, and you describe this in your book. And one of them started a tradition we have represented here by the comma shaker. Tell our viewers about that.
Well, this was made by a legendary proofreader named Lou Burke, and it's a artifact dating at least from the early 60s, maybe the 50s, but it's an ordinary canister with the perforations in the top, and she wrapped a paper around it and drew commas on it and wrote commas and calls it the comma shaker. And it was her comment on the New Yorker's close style of punctuation. We do put commas in wherever they belong, and there's a reason for all of them, but they strike some people, readers, writers, as excessive. And Lou herself thought that the close style of punctuation was excessive, although she did enforce it. But this was her joke, that when it was time to close a piece, we just shook in some commas. I won't reveal what's inside here.
She was being a little sarcastic then.
Yes. It was always. She sat right next to the office of Eleanor Gould, who was the New Yorker's legendary grammarian, and she was the one who really enforced those commas, and that was her silent rebuke.
I find that I don't use as many commas as I used to. I favor the semicolon, however. What are your thoughts on the semicolon?
Well, I had a kind of formative experience with the semicolon in college when I didn't know how to use it. And whenever I would put one in, just thinking, well, this is kind of a long sentence. It might need something more than a comma. Always it would get the red circle, and I didn't know how to use it. I do know how to use it now. You have to have a complete clause on either side of it. The semicolon says, this isn't quite finished yet. I want to hang something else off of it. Often, it could be replaced by a period, or it could be replaced by a comma and a conjunction. I've come to see that it's very eloquent.
I also enjoy dashes, and I was happy to see that you had dashes in your book. I think those are becoming more and more common, especially when people don't know whether they should put a comma someplace or not. They just put a dash in there.
Whenever you feel a pause, put in a dash. That's what a friend of mine thinks of.
Like Jackie Onassis
Yes.
in her letters.
Well, the dash is really versatile. You really can. And letters, I think it's given, the dash gives itself especially easily to. It's very informal and spontaneous.
As we go into the future and people are increasingly using electronic devices, how do you think that might change the language? And as you say, the Vox Populi may end up winning some of these changes. People are shortening words already. We know that.
Yes, a lot of abbreviations have entered, and most of it is fun, I think. The one piece of punctuation that's vulnerable, though, is the apostrophe. I know on my little phone, I have to change screens to put in an apostrophe, and who has time to be doing that, right? Well, I take the time because if I can try to put in something loose and I just don't like it, and I always go back and do it properly. But I think I'm in a minority. Also, I have a reputation to uphold.
Well, and people often get confused about apostrophes. So what you're saying is because they have to change that screen and type it in, it may just go away.
There's an argument that it's unnecessary anyway. The big one that everyone cites is its and its, IT apostrophe S and ITS. They're hard to keep straight. That's a mistake that sneaks in a lot, no matter how hard people try. But in context, you know what you're saying. I mean, you wouldn't have a problem with it. It's pronounced the same way. When we use it, we don't have a problem with it. So why should we have a problem with it in writing?
People use it on signs a lot to indicate a plural,
Oh, yeah.
which is
The
interesting.
apostrophe, yes.
Again, my supposition is that maybe they're overthinking it, and they think there needs to be an apostrophe here when there really doesn't.
They have plural and possessive mixed up, and they think they know the apostrophe has something to do with it.
Well, why, if you're not bothered by the apostrophe going away, because, quote, everybody knows what we're trying to say, are you still bothered by things like between you and I?
Well, I didn't say I wasn't bothered by
I
it.
see.
I just see it may be inevitable. I still use it, and it's kind of it's not a mission. I don't advocate like Lynn Truss going out with a magic marker and changing things, or a plastic baggie full of apostrophes. I do notice it. I just don't feel that it's my job to correct everything I see that's wrong. And if it bothers me, well, all I can really do is keep doing it my way. I can just uphold my standards myself and set an example.
The person you just mentioned, was that the author of Eats, Shoots, and Leaves?
Right.
That's a great book as well. People, go for these books, don't they?
Well, they went for Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. And yes, it's because the language belongs to everybody. And it turns out that everybody has strong feelings about it. And they want to argue about it. And I'm not crazy about arguing about it all the time. And now that I've written this book, I'm often in the position of having to defend it.
So was it nerve-wracking writing this and worrying about errors creeping into your own book?
Oh, yes. I had to be copy edited and I had to be proofread, and they're two different things. So, writing is one thing and copy editing is another. And when you're the writer, you miss things that you shouldn't miss when you're the copy editor. So there was also the question of whether it would be styled according to New Yorker style or the publisher Norton's house style. And they gave me a choice. And at first I thought, well, the New Yorker style, that's how I'm used to seeing things. But then I remembered that at the New Yorker, when a writer comes and argues with us about our style, I think, oh, just shut up. You're being published in the New Yorker, do it our way. And so I didn't want to be that kind of person at Norton. I wanted to be amenable. So I went along with their style. And it's been interesting because so many things, it doesn't make that much difference as long as things are consistent. But every once in a while, something does make a difference.
Did any errors creep in?
I'm afraid so. There is one garble that came from a late change that I made and didn't apparently follow up on completely. And that happens. It's always dangerous to make a change at the last minute. And there are typos, and I take responsibility for them. I'm not blaming anyone else. I should have caught them.
When you're in your job, who are some of the most pleasurable writers to copy edit? Who have you enjoyed? I think I remember John McPhee being one of them.
McPhee, I read at first on the copy desk. I'd read him in the magazine before that, of course, and working on his prose, that's somebody that you could just read and enjoy. And if you came to something that you wanted, that you thought was wrong, for instance, in the book, I describe a sentence he has that some kind of geological phenomenon was new and far between. And for a little while I thought, surely he meant few and far between, and I was tempted to change it. I didn't, thank goodness, because why would John McPhee use a cliche and then make a mistake in it?
So he's one that was a pleasure to edit. I
Certainly.
think I remember John Updike as well from your book.
Updike you could just read and enjoy. And then when it was time to ask a question, he was always open. He always wanted to hear people's feedback.
In the end, though, as you point out, it's pretty subjective. You have a sentence in there that I like where there's the meaning of spell, i.e. to spell a word correctly, and then there's another kind of spell, which is the one that the writer weaves. And when you edit them, you don't want to break that spell.
Well, you really do have to consider the writer and give the writer the benefit of the doubt, and stay aware of the effect on the reader. And you're a reader yourself, and both under everything else, and you are under the spell of the writer, and you do tinker with it, kind of like a mechanic. The idea is to make the car go smoothly.
As we wrap up, last question for you: what has this tour been like for you? Because I know your job must be relatively solitary. I mean, you have colleagues and things like that, but you're out and about. And how has the reception been? What's it been like for you?
Well, it's been a delight for me. It's true that we do our work at a desk, in a corner with our backs turned to everyone, and it's funny to have it be out in the open, to have gone public with New Yorker style when everybody was so secretive about it. So it's a lot of fun for me to meet people and to get to tell stories. One of the things that I like about the book, it makes it less of a memoir than it might be, is the sketches of the people that I've worked with over the years. There were a lot of eccentric characters at the New Yorker, and I get to describe them. I had to tell stories that also illustrated a point of usage when otherwise I was just, maundering. But the thing about it is that I didn't have to take them all the way to the grave, so they're still alive in the book. And the one person who does die was resurrected. So that's Lou Burke by Herkimer Shaker.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me and our viewers about your book, and have fun in the future.
Thank you. Wonderful to talk with you.
You've been listening to New Yorker editor Mary Norris talk about her book, Between You and Me, Confessions of a Comma Queen. To learn more about Norris, check out the Dialogue website. Just go to idahoptv.org and click on Dialogue. That's also where you can watch our interviews from the Sun Valley Writers Conference dating back to 2005. My thanks to the organizers of that conference for letting us talk with their engaging authors over the past decade. For Dialogue, I'm Marcia Franklin. Thanks for tuning in.
Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho. Check out our website, become a friend on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter.